Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. It is Monday, February 8th, 2021. I'm Andrew Hansen alongside Joe Sarvati, who's affectionately known as Coach. And we have an 8-game NBA slate to break down for you here today. But there was a big game last night that we might want to talk about a little bit, Coach.
There sure was, man. And if I'm affectionately known as Coach, you're affectionately just known as winner. Because, man, you are getting it done. Congratulations. And shout out to all our Coach Talk family that was all in there rooting, sweating, talking about plays and guys. But Andrew tied for first in the Millie Maker on DraftKings, correct? And
Correct.
that was, yeah. And it was back-to-back weeks, which is incredible. The two-game slate last weekend, the highest contest you could play, the 300K contest on DraftKings, he tied for first. That was the big 81 grand night. There wasn't as many ties there. There were multiple ties in this one, but hey, when you get first, man, that is phenomenal. So what was your takedown money amount again?
It was like 2,400 because there were
That's,
like
yeah.
1,100 ties, which
Wow.
was a little bit surprising because the captain was Gronk.
I I
So
can't believe that either. That's amazing.
So
I
Gronk got it done, man. That was fun. I mean, we talked
Yeah.
on the podcast about Brady to Gronk, the postseason success, that chemistry, and it came through again. So, yeah, Gronk did it, and it was fun to see him just with those emphatic spikes. And what an impressive performance by Tampa. What a run. Just
Nobody
phenomenal.
saw that coming, as far as a blowout like that.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I
And then
was thinking about it afterwards. What could you have gotten in Vegas for Kansas City not scoring a touchdown?
a lot. That was tremendous. And to see those
Jeez.
stats about how Mahomes had never lost by 10 points,
I
and
couldn't
then
believe that either. That's yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was fun, and the whole thing was great. I just wish it would have been a little closer. But the bottom line is, you won the top tournament on DraftKings 2 weeks in a row. Man, that should get our Coach Talk folks rumbling and getting excited. So it's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Yeah, yeah. 2 weeks ago, it was the FanDuel, remember? But yeah, that was
Oh,
that was a
I knew I had
yeah,
one of them
yeah.
backwards, but the
That was
bottom
this.
line is it's a lot of money and it's first place. And
Yeah.
so
So
congratulations, man.
yeah, thanks a lot. And of course, we're going to apply that GPP approach to NBA the rest of the season. So jump in with us. If you haven't tried us yet, we have a 3-day pass available on the website. We just launched that last week. So give us a try, and we can build some winners together in basketball.
Let's do it. Let's smash this 8-gamer here and get some winners ready.
All right. So tonight we have 5 teams involved in a back-to-back out of the
Yeah.
16. We have some fast-paced teams. 10 of the top 12 pace teams in the NBA will be playing tonight, so we'll have some points.
It's going to take
And
big numbers to win it.
we've got 3 game totals over 230 out of the 8. So we've got some fun targets to look at. Let's start with the early game, as we always do. Houston and Charlotte, 7 o'clock tip tonight, Eastern. 3-point spread here, Houston favored,
Yeah.
and it's a 223.5 total. So one of the lower totals. Front end of a back-to-back for Houston and back-to-back for Charlotte. They had that big win over Washington yesterday by 22. The news here is we've got Devontae Graham still questionable with the groin issue. So
Yeah.
start us off here with game one.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice little game here. I think it's very interesting, and you've got some players on the rise DFS wise. The one concern with Houston right now, they're up to number 2 in defensive efficiency as a team, which really is surprising to me. They're playing fantastic team defense because they don't have tremendous standout guys. Now Oladipo he's high level elite defender, but with Christian Wood being out, that hurts him a little bit because he was protecting the rim, but they're still playing fantastic defense. Charlotte's 18th, so middle of the pack, but you got to love the pace. Like you said, we're going to have a lot of pace up situations today, but Houston's 4th and Charlotte is 17th. So more of a pace up game for Charlotte and those guards. But as you said, I think the big news we need to know about Devontae Graham because, to me, if he sits, you've got to look at both Charlotte guys. Obviously, LaMelo Ball is the talk of the NBA somewhat right now, that the fact that he's getting those big minutes and just absolutely killing it. I mean, I knew he was good, but not, right away like this. I thought he'd have to play into it. And he's actually been controlling his turnovers too, which is unusual for a rookie. And especially as he throws those one-handed sling passes, you think he'd be turning it over a lot. But, I think that we've got to get that news on Devontae, and it certainly brings the two guards, like I said, into play for Charlotte. I think you got to talk a little bit about Cody Zeller here too. I know you like Cody, but he's played well. Depending on the situation, the last game, PJ was back and they were playing a smaller team, so the minutes were a little different, but he still did fine. And, he's going against maybe Cousins, who, he's like a tree stump out there defensively, even though he's been fine on offense. So Cody's in play as well. I like this game. And then from the Houston side, the question is, do you go Wall or Oladipo if you want to go there? Because their usage has both gone up with Mr. Wood being out. So I like this game. I think there's one or two guys here you want to go after and have some definitely exposure to this game and to get off the night off to a good start. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think the guys that you mentioned are the ones that I'm considering. I think in terms of the price tags, the one I like the most is Cousins on FanDuel at 6,000. I just love his performance when he's a starter and Wood continues to be out. The guards that you mentioned, I think, are all sort of fair price tags. Nothing jumping off the page. LaMelo is as expensive as he's ever been now, around 8,000.
Yeah.
And Rozier, I might be more likely to go there because he's just over 6,000. But, there's a lot of guys in that price range that I like a little bit later in the slate. So this game, might be Cousins and move on. I do really like how Zeller has been playing, but I liked him a little better when he was 4 and 5K instead of 6K.
Yeah.
So
all the guys on Charlotte seem to have taken a pretty big jump up.
Right.
Which, but they're, LaMelo, I'm a believer, man. I don't know. He's something.
He really is. All right, game 2, Wizards and Bulls. And this is our highest total on the slate, 237.
Yeah.
Bulls favored by 2.5. We have the number 1 and number 3 pace teams in the NBA.
Yeah.
And they don't play defense. Wizards 29th, Bulls 21st. This is a back-to-back for the Wizards. But it was that blowout loss against Charlotte, and Beal and Westbrook only played 28 minutes. And now we might have Westbrook playing on the second night of a back-to-back for the first time all season. We don't have that news yet here at lunchtime on Monday when we're recording this, but that'll be a real important piece here, because if he sits, then you could have some value with Ish Smith or Raul Neto, and then Bradley Beal should be taking a bigger percentage of the shots. He's only 9,000 on DraftKings. I love his price there.
Yeah.
FanDuel, they've got these guys priced up 10,800 for Beal and 9,700 still for Westbrook. So
it's crazy.
I don't know if I'll do it over there, but Beal is probably going to be locked in for me, especially if Westbrook is out. I mean, we love attacking these Bulls guards. So prime scenario here for those guys. With the Bulls, we have Lauri Markkanen, who's doubtful. And in his absence, we've seen some value pop up with Valentine, Patrick Williams, all of a sudden getting some stuff done. So if those guys are starting, there's still a reasonable price. You could look there. But the guy I'm starting with here is Levine, under 9,000, gets to attack that bad Wizards backcourt. So I'm going to have a bunch of lineups here with Beal and Levine going back at it. How about you?
This is an unavoidable game. It is the best game on the slate. It's a perfect storm, a level kind of game. Like you said, the top 3 fastest paced teams. So a bunch of extra possessions, terrible defense, and the matchups are just fantastic for multiple guys here. Before I commit to all my guys, though, I really do need the Westbrook news. Now, I think right now, I think he's in. From what it was coach speak too. It wasn't just rumblings. He played less minutes, he's healthier, and they actually said he may play in this back to back. I think that came right from the coach.
It
So
did.
I
Yep.
think, yeah. So I think he plays, and I think this game is just, you got to look at it. Now, the pricing varies for all these guys on the three sites. Yahoo's got a big difference in some of these pricing as well, even though if you haven't been on Yahoo, their pricing starts at $10 up. It's fun though. It's a good difference. Look at it. But here are the guys that I like, and it's going to sound like, okay, you got everybody from this team, but I very very much will have half my lineup at least come out of this team. I mean, this game, it's just too strong. I think, based on the price and the site, Westbrook's a great play. Beal's a phenomenal play. And I like some of the secondary guys a little bit. Hashimura is starting to get into the run of things and get a little bit more in sync with what's going on there. And then on Chicago's side, I love Levine. He's just been absolutely awesome the last couple of weeks. Gotta love him against that, like you said, Beal defense. I don't think Kobe White's a bad play at all. He's had great hot streaks. I rostered him this weekend. He had a really bad first half, and then he went pretty crazy the second half. So I think if he puts that together in a high-paced game, and that dude is lightning, so I think he'll enjoy this, and his price is good. So I like Kobe a little bit as well. And then, I agree with you with the lack of bigs there with some of the guys they have out. I think you have to give a quick glance to Porter and Young. Both of them have had games where they played really well. Thad Young, especially at his price. So, man, give me like 4 or 5 guys from this game, and I'll mix and match based on price. Like I say, if Westbrook's ruled out, it shifts a little bit, and then all of a sudden, Beal's the number 1 play instead of still, third or fourth best for me. And, it may bring a secondary guy into play there as well. But I think you got to focus on this game. I think this is, you're going to have, if you don't have 2, 3, 4 guys exposure in this game, I think you're not going to hit the optimal lineup.
Yeah, excellent. I think you said Porter there.
Oh, is he out?
Yeah, I think he should still be out. So,
Okay.
did you mean either Valentine or Williams? Out of Valentine, Patrick Williams, and Thaddeus Young.
Well,
Just to clarify.
I'm on the Patrick Williams bandwagon big time. And I did mean to say Williams instead of Porter. Thank you. You know my gaffes right off the bat.
Gafford?
Yeah, no, not Gafford, just gaffes. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I still can't believe this kid. I mean, I mentioned it this weekend too. I mean, he was the 6th man for Florida State last year, off the bench, averaged 9 points. This is in college basketball. He's starting for the Bulls, averaging almost 12 now, and just playing terrific with confidence. They're going to him. So, his price is still reasonable. You got to give him a look. And then Thad Young, like I said, he's played center, power forward, whatever they need him to do. And all he does is just grab DFS points left and right. So, yes, thank you for catching that. And I think those guys are just as much in play as Levine and Kobe White.
Okay. Game 3. This is the other 8 o'clock tip. It's Toronto at Memphis. Lower total here, back to 223. Toronto favored by 2. And the news here is on the Memphis side as Clark is out and Melton is out. So, what are your thoughts on this one?
I'm not crazy about this game. 222 is reasonable, but it is a tight spread at -2. But you've got 2 of the top 11 defenses in the league and getting better. Toronto's all the way up to 11 from mid-20s. Memphis is stuck in that top 10 for quite a while at 7th, and they get their defensive guy back too, Joe Val, who's, does a good job in the paint and, really clogs things up. So I'm not crazy about that. But on the, reverse side, it's that, 2 things don't match here. You got 2 of the top 12 pace teams. So they do get up and down the floor. The question is, does the defense win out or the offense? But my concern here is Toronto's pricing. I mean, I love those guys. I love Lowry, Van Vliet, Siakam, but they're uber expensive, in my opinion, for a game like this. So I just don't know if they make the cut. And I usually am a guy that will have a Raptor in there, but I just don't think they make the number. Now, I'm so damn confused with Boucher. I mean, he's in, he's out, he's playing a lot, he's playing a little. He gets 6 DFS points and then he's 7x. I mean, I don't know if Nurse is what the deal is there, but I like Boucher. I think he could do very well in here, and his price is plummeted. I mean, remember what was it like 3 weeks ago? He was like $8,000 or something stupid.
Right.
So, it's risky, definitely a nice GPP play, but I want to hear a little bit more, from the Toronto side to see if he's in the rotations. Who knows? So we got to follow that. Memphis side, there's always Ja. He's always a possibility, but I respect Lowry defense, and that's just a little bit iffy. The rest, they just have so many role players that, you don't really want to, unless you have to put in a Brooks or Anderson or one of those guys. Not crazy about the Memphis side, and probably not going to go the Toronto side unless I do a one-off. So this game is more of a pass game for me.
Yeah, it's mostly a pass for me. I agree. The Toronto studs are a little bit expensive for this type of a game, especially on FanDuel. With the bigs, I think the way I look at it is that it really looks to be the matchup that Nurse is evaluating. So when they played the Nets, Baines kind of mirrored DeAndre Jordan. Boucher had big minutes against Atlanta that last game out and was terrific. But I think Baines will get more minutes here against Joval. The question is, does Joval start? His first game back last time, they brought him off the bench, and he was terrific. Right. But we've got that big mixture now with Joval and Tillman and Jang. But if Joval starts, then I think Baines is more attractive here than usual. I think he's a GPP option, especially on DraftKings where he's 3,900. But those big minutes are hard to trust with Toronto. So that's an unlikely play for me. One price tag I do like on Memphis is Dillon Brooks on FanDuel. He's only 4,700.
Yeah.
And if you just look at the game logs, you see, the last game out was a down game for him, but he shot 4 for 17 and 0 for 6 on 3-pointers. So, with that type of usage, I like him with some upside on FanDuel, but, more of a grinded out situation where I think the defenses are more likely to win out than the pace, like you were talking about.
I agree. Yeah.
More likely to save my spots here and continue down the slate.
Sounds good.
All right. The next one up we have is Minnesota at your Mavericks.
Yes.
An 8:30 tip, 225.5 total. Dallas favored by 9.5, and that's the fear here is this a blowout? Dallas got back on track with that big win against Golden State. What an exciting game there. And they've got Minnesota, who's 6-17. A lot of issues with personnel and performance. And tonight it'll be D'Angelo Russell again questionable. Juancho's been questionable for a while. He tries to get back on the court. And Cat is now labeled as doubtful. So he's nearing the return, but we're not expecting him tonight. So we'll have to wait and see about D'Angelo Russell. But with Cat still not looking like he's going to play, Naz Reid is a guy that you have to look at 6,000, right around there on both sites. He was terrific against OKC, 29 points, 6 rebounds, showing his potential. And we've talked all season about the bigs against Dallas is an area you can attack. So Reed is in play for me. You got to make that decision between he and Cousins in that price range. On the Dallas side, Luka was certainly terrific against Golden State. He's expensive, and I like the matchup, but I'm just concerned about whether this one blows out. So I'm hesitant to play him tonight. I think Porzingis is in play for me around 8,000. And then Kleba, here's the guy I want to talk to you some more about because I just generally don't play him. But lots of times, historically, he's come off the bench. You're not
Yeah.
quite sure about his minutes. But now, if he's going to play over 30 minutes as a starter, really good price range, 4.5 on DK, 4.2 on FanDuel. He's in the mix for me. I want to hear more about him. Do you think he's worth considering tonight?
Absolutely. He is a key component to that team. And, I mentioned it multiple times when he was out that they really, really missed his 3 and D efforts. He just changed the flow for that team. And, the fact that he's back, I think he'll continue to get 30 to 35 minutes as a key component. But, this is a game I'm going to avoid. And I'll tell you why. The last game that they played, Mark Cuban met with the team prior to the game and just gave them a big pep talk. I guess the big thing was about, listen, don't look at the record because right now, as far as strength of schedule, the Mavericks have played the toughest of all 30 teams in the league, and they had played a ton of games on the road. So he just tried to take the stress off him, saying, listen, we're fine. We got a long ways to go. Got them pumped up. They came out. They had been beaten by over 30, 48 hours before from the same team, came out and beat them. And they're at home again. They had some fans at the last game. The first responders were there. There were like, I think 2,000 fans. And now tonight's game, they're going to have season ticket holders and different people. So they're going to have like about 5,000 fans. And that makes a difference. They start feeling like they're really playing a home game and it's not as awkward, and that helps. I think they feel they have to have some momentum. This is a million times important game to win. You can't lose. Minnesota's the worst team in the league. So they need to come in here. And I think they smash them. And that's not as a Mavericks fan. This is just, completely looking at the scenario. They've got momentum. They got everybody back. They've got their rotation figured out. And, what makes Kleba one of the guys that's so important is Cauley-Stein is not getting off the bench. Boban's not. They've really condensed it down to like 8 or 9 guys. Burke's not getting enough minutes, so you want to avoid him. He has finally shortened his bench a little bit with Brunson and Hardaway and those guys all playing important minutes. And Kleba, Powell gets in, not consistent though. You don't want to play him either, but it still gives you that base of 5 or 6 Mavs you can play. But in a game that's going to blow out, trust me, Carlisle is uber protective of his players. So if they're winning by 15, 20 points, he's going to rotate guys like crazy. You're going to see reduced minutes for high-priced Luka and Porzingis. And, if you want to go anywhere with the Mavericks, I agree with you. I think Kleber's a decent play. You could always, if you need a final fill-in guy, go with Jay Rich or Hardaway. They have the potential of filling it up and they're getting decent minutes. But I'm not going to go there. Minnesota, I don't trust except for Naz Reid. So you read my mind on this game. I think Naz Reid is playing better. I think he's also trying to make a big impression in these last few games before the big cat is back so that he doesn't lose all his minutes. So I have no problem going with Naz here. I think that he's played and earned that. And again, Dallas does struggle with that interior defense. So for me, it's going to be probably not Naz and then maybe a Kleber or one of the ancillary dudes for Dallas, but probably not. This is the game at 9.5 spread now that I think will get bigger, and I think they smack them.
Okay, excellent. The other 8:30 tip is Golden State at San Antonio. These teams are going to have a rematch tomorrow in the same place, so keep that in mind. This is one of the 230 games in terms of total. It's 233.5. Spurs favored by 1.5. So on paper, it's a game that you potentially would want to get a lot of exposure to. But will you tonight, Coach?
The 232.5 number is pretty impressive. There's no question about it. Yeah, I'm starting to get worried about Golden State, though. This long, extended road trip and all these multiple games on the road, and so dependent on Steph, you start to get a little worried, especially with Pop's different defenses that he runs. And I think a lot of people are going to go to a lot of players in this game. You'll see a lot of probably Curry back again and Oubre, and on the San Antonio side, I'm sure you'll see several of their guys. And I'm not going to stack this game. I do want to have some exposure. I think that either DeJounte Murray or DeRozan are both in play for me just because of the pace and, the speed that they play with. Even though Golden State doesn't have any bigs, I guess you could consider Pirtle, but, I don't know how much he plays because they're going to play smaller. And then that always concerns you of, are they going to go small? And, he uses guys like Patty Mills, Rudy Gay, and all these guys so much in games like this that I'm just a little worried to really count on a juicy 8-game slate, and then all of a sudden you're counting on Pop to do the right thing for us DFS boys, and he doesn't like us. Let's face it, we know that. So, I'm considering a guy or two here. I would like to have some exposure. Oubre, I'm not. I mean, he's still not shooting the ball well. His DFS points have gone way up, and he's sort of smoked Dallas a little bit there, but he's still shooting like 20% from three, and just not, the full deal there. So as much as I want to have a guy or two from this game because of the number and the pace, defensively 9th and 16th is solid enough to combat maybe the second, 11th pace, but not enough to where I want to fade the game. So this is the game I got to dig in on the most and make some final decisions. But somebody's sounds like somebody's chopping wood. I hear a noise.
I think it's the washing machine or the dryer.
Oh, something's off
Yeah.
balance. So I want to get your opinion here because I'm just not positive of how I want to go here, but I do want to have exposure. What do you think? You can give me the as long as you're not on tilt like the washer, then we're good.
I agree. It is a little bit shaky for a 233 game like the washer. And I agree. It's, if you look at Lonnie Walker and LaMarcus Aldridge being out, you think, okay, well, there's some value with the Spurs.
Right.
And okay, yeah, big minutes for Pirtle. Great matchup because Wiseman and Looney are still out. But like you said, it's Pop. Does Pirtle even start? Do they go small? Does he start and then only play 16 minutes and they get guys like Trey Lyles in there? I mean, you just never know.
Right.
So, and he's in that same price range as Cousins and Reed. So I'm not going to go to Pirtle, even though it's a great matchup potentially on paper against, Juan Toscano Anderson playing makeshift center.
Or Draymond.
Then you look at the rest of the Spurs, Derek White, I do like because he's cheaper than DeJounte, and they started alongside each other last game. So that's the Spur that I'm most likely to play. On the Golden State side, how about Steph and Draymond against Dallas? Man,
it was mind-bending to watch those guys, man.
Just tremendous. We just got to call Steph 57. That's what he
Some
dropped.
of those shots he hit were just like unfair. He didn't look at the basket. I'm telling you, it's just amazing.
He's phenomenal. A little bit expensive here on this slate. Draymond, he smashed value with 2 points. That's the story of Draymond and DFS right there. I mean, he had 10
Incredible.
stocks in that game.
Yeah.
And we had Steph and Draymond paired up in our GPP on FanDuel that cashed. So that, fond memories of that duo, who could certainly get it done again here, but a little bit pricey for me. And Draymond has finally gotten back to Draymond pricing, 68 and 73. He was down in the 4K range on FanDuel, like 4,900.
Well, he won't shoot. Dude won't shoot.
Right. But now
amazing.
he's doing all the other stuff. He's sort of getting in shape and playing more like himself. So probably won't go to either of those guys. But, Toscano Anderson, I think, is playable. Bazemore is playable because of the minutes he's getting. And then, of course, we do have to see if Pascal is active because he could cut into the minutes for all those guys.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the 9 o'clock game. Cleveland at Phoenix. lower total here, the lowest on the board, 214.5. Phoenix favored by 7.5. We have two of the bottom 5 pace teams in the NBA. So what we said at the top about fast pace does not apply to this game. And the Suns have really been strong defensively. They're 5th in the NBA. Cavaliers, decent. They're 13th. They were top 10. They're trending down there, which gives us some hope for Phoenix. In terms of the injuries, we've got Larry Nance out. And then on the Phoenix side, Crowder is questionable after sitting the last game out. Now, everyone's heard me say here for a while that I don't really like using Paul, Booker, or Ayton when they're all playing. But I'm thinking about Chris Paul tonight or Booker. They're reasonable price tags. The Cavaliers' backcourt defense is not strong. The problem is that they really are GPP-ish to me because we've seen Paul have a couple spike games recently, getting as many as 60 fantasy points. Then last game it was Booker really handling it, getting over 10 assists, and Paul did almost nothing. So it's hard to predict. But I am looking at those guards. And then on the Cleveland side, the price tag I like the most is Andre Drummond, 7,200 on FanDuel. I think he can have a big rebound game here, botting up against Ayton. And he has been a little bit inconsistent with minutes, but he's had, I think, 3 of the last 4 with at least 30 minutes. So I think he's playable in that price range. So I may, even though it's a low total game here, I may have 1 or 2 players come out of here.
Interesting. I mean, this is going to be simple for me. As a cash player, I think you have to have rocks in your head to roster anybody from this game because all the reasons you said, decent defense, terrible pace, inconsistent usage and minutes for a lot of these guys, even Drummond and with Allen and all the sharing in Phoenix. And I just want 0 exposure to this game, and I'm ready to go to the next one.
Well, I like the next one too. Perhaps you do as well. It's Milwaukee and Denver. Great matchup in terms
Can't wait to watch that one.
Teams, and 234 total to go along with it. Milwaukee favored by 4. And the news here is big on the Denver side. Harris and Dozier are out. And then Jamal Murray and Campazzo are both questionable. So break us down here. Break it down the 9:30 game.
Well, I think it's a terrific game. I think it's a good DFS game too. It's one of my second or third favorite games on this slate for sure after the perfect storm Washington Chicago game. But the Joker has been just absolutely out of his mind. I mean, do you see how many shots he took the last game?
I didn't see, but I know he scored 50.
I think he took 34 shots, if I'm not mistaken.
Guy who sometimes will take like 6.
That's what I mean. I think I remember last year there was a week where he maybe took that in the whole week.
Right.
So, the fact that he was the go-to guy, I'll tell you what, if anybody's given LeBron a run for MVP, it's the Joker. So we do not, we'll be interested to see how that all plays out. But, I don't want to spend up to that point where you have to buy the Joker. And I know, I keep fading him because of that price and he keeps smashing, but, it is Giannis and he, one of the defensive player of the year candidates inside, they do play good D. It's just hard for me to plug him in there. Now, there may be a lineup. I consider that if Murray sits. I think Murray's going to play, though. That's just a hunch. I didn't read anything. I just think he will. But I just can't go there. I do like the fact that Morris would be a nice plug-and-play if Murray does sit, because Campazzo's hurt too. And he'll get all the minutes he can at point guard, I think, in that situation. And the value he'll be super high, maybe the highest owned guy on the slate if those guys sit, to be honest with you. That's how crazy DFS is. You just never know. But so you got to wait for that news because he would definitely take a spot if that's the case. If Murray plays, then no way. But, from the Denver side, too, you got to start looking at Porter Michael Porter a little bit now too, that his minutes are increasing and he's starting to have more of an impact. So, if Murray plays without a minutes restriction, you can look at him, Porter, and the Joker. Now, that's not telling anybody anything they didn't know, but you probably have to pick or choose one of those guys to plug in there. On the Milwaukee side, Giannis has had some games where he's fell very flat, and then he's had other games where he's made value. But at the price he's at, it's odd because I don't remember this season him smashing the slate and breaking the slate somewhat with 80, 90 DFS points like he did as much last year. So I don't know if that's because they have a new rotation with Holiday running the show, or I don't know. But it's, it used to be so painful to fade, Hart or Giannis, because you thought, man, I don't know if I can live with that, those 75 points that you got to figure he's going to, stack up. I think, you can consider him if you're not going to play any on the Denver side and you think this game stays close. It is a 4-point game spread, and that 233.5 is super tempting. And Milwaukee plays fast. They do. Denver will try to slow them down, but Milwaukee plays fast. So, I want exposure here. I just don't want to spend a fortune on this game because I think there's just too many other people that you have to consider. So I don't mind going to the second or third bananas on some of these teams, like a Middleton. Holiday's played better. Like I mentioned, Porter. I think you can look at some of these guys, Morris, if Murray sits, or if not Murray. I like a combination of a couple and definitely want exposure here, but want to make sure we get the news and then see where it goes. But, I'm just not willing personally to pay up, which I'm sure a lot of people will, for Giannis or the Joker. Are you going to do that?
I am actually interested in Giannis tonight.
Okay.
I haven't played him much this season, but this is a situation where I think it's worth considering, especially on FanDuel. I think this game is one that you can get several guys and hope that it does stay close.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Milwaukee is they play a lot of guys and they have a lot of games where they win comfortably. Just look at those last two games in Cleveland. You
Yeah.
don't want to be involved in it when it's
No.
blowout city. But Denver can certainly give them a game, and I'd love to see this one stay close. Um, breaking it down one guy at a time, Middleton, I think, is a buy low candidate here. If you look at his game logs recently, you're not going to be excited at all. But if you look a little more closely, you'll see that, again, they haven't played close games and he hasn't gotten big minutes. The last couple of close games they played 5 or 6 games ago, he did terrific.
Yeah.
And now he's down at 75 and 7,200, where he's usually 8,000 or higher. So I like Middleton here. I like Giannis because we know, when he gets into the paint, it's going to be a little bit easier situation, getting around Jokic. And Drew Holiday would be the third guy who's playable because the guards for Denver aren't great defensively. It's hard to play all three of those guys. It's rare that you can consider a full game stack with Milwaukee because, like you said, some nights it's Middleton, some nights it's Giannis, and Giannis has had a lot of down nights because of Holiday. But I think this one has potential if Denver can keep it close. Over on that side, I agree. It's going to be Monte Morris night for sure.
Yeah.
If Murray's out, he is so cheap on FanDuel, 4,200.
Yeah.
And we've seen it repeatedly when he gets good minutes. And he
produces.
He was terrific against Sacramento. I also like Michael Porter Jr. on FanDuel. He can continue the game stack. Only 5,200 now. He's been starting here, getting bigger minutes. So I like him. And Jokic is tough to fade, man, but it comes down to that position scarcity and availability at the center position. I'd rather not pay up there because we have multiple guys in the mid tier that we like. So that's why it turns to Giannis as a pay up guy for me because I'm scared about the blowout with Luka. So that's why Giannis is kind of rising to the top here for me, and I'll have probably multiple guys from this game. The one other deep sleeper option here is if Murray and Campazzo are out, then we've got Monte Morris starting. And like the last game here with Sacramento, RJ Hampton got 28 minutes off the bench handling the ball. I don't like him on FanDuel because he's 3,700 and Monte Morris is 42. But
Yeah.
on DraftKings, Monte Morris is 51 and RJ Hampton's only 3,600. So there's a 3K guy that you could look at on DraftKings.
A cool point here. RJ Hampton's from this area. He played ball here. And when I was coaching the Texas Legends, who are the G League team for the Mavs, their AAU team, which my son, one of our staff, Dawson Sarvati, was on, we played his AAU team, and Dawson actually tried to guard RJ Hampton.
Oh, wow.
So that was
awesome.
Interesting. He did take a charge on him, a chip off the old block, taking the charges.
Beautiful.
But that dude was terrific. He is really talented. He's young and raw still, but he's going to be a nice little player. I think eventually he'll get some run, but I just wanted to throw that in there because time flies by. It wasn't that long ago, but man, hard to believe.
That's a fun story. So Dawson is the Marcus Smart of the household, just taking charges everywhere against NBA players.
Exactly. It's just like me. When you can't jump,
at least block somebody.
You got to get in the way is the way I look at it. So
get that ball back. Awesome. All right, last game of the night, and hopefully we'll see the ball tipped up here and played with. It's Oklahoma City and the Lakers. Oklahoma City, they only have 8 players right now, midday, that look to be available. So We're concerned about this game if it'll play. If it does, it's a low total, 216. Lakers favored by 10. And the confirmed absences for OKC, we have Maladon, Muscala, and Roby are out. And then on the Lakers side, Anthony Davis is doubtful. So we think he's actually going to sit this one out if it plays. So, man, a lot of moving parts here since we don't know if they're going to play. If AD's out, then obviously it's an exciting opportunity for the Lakers, but do they blow out OKC? I mean, we've said that before other nights, and then OKC finds a way to keep it close.
Or win.
or even win. So we can't count them out. I mean, they are 10-12. They're battling. But, LeBron would be probably a low-owned GPP option at his high price tag tonight with AD out. Kuzma will be a great value play, a reasonable price on both sites if he starts. Schroeder is more in play for me as a mid-tier option without AD. Harrell is a GPP option because I think off the bench, there's no one for OKC that's going to slow him down. I mean, you look at the guys who they may have coming off the bench, Kenrich Williams, Justin Jackson, Darius Miller. There's just nobody with any size that can slow him down. So he could really eat, but a little bit expensive. And then on the OKC side, Shea should have the ball in his hands all night long with only 8 guys and Maladon out. Diallo certainly in the mix, but he's over 6,000 now. So Shea is in play for me at 8,000 if this game plays. Not as interested in any of these value plays for OKC tonight against the number 1 defense in the NBA, the LA Lakers.
I'm with you, man. This is interesting. So hear me out on this game. It's the last one, and I've got a take here that may be confusing if you don't listen closely.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to go the game within the game, outthink the thinkers. So here's my initial thoughts on this game. First of all, it's a standalone late game. So if the game gets canceled in that 30 minutes between the Milwaukee-Denver start and when that Oklahoma City, Los Angeles Lakers game, I just watched the Just Win Baby, Al Davis 30 for 30. It's awesome.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So it's stuck in my head. But so here's my thinking. Tons of people in the industry got smoked last week with the Denver Nuggets late cancellation because of COVID. And it cost a bunch of people. They had the Joker. They had all kinds of guys in there. And so here's what I think now. Follow me here because I'm telling you, the Sharps, the Sharks, the guys that are out there, they're going to look at this and say, okay, people, because they got burned, are going to fade this game because they don't want to get burned again. So I'm going to have exposure here. And I think that they're missing the boat. Number one, I think there's too much of a risk that it could cancel, and then you're dead because you take zeros. And this game isn't that great to play anyway. And that's the point. It's not like if this was the Washington-Chicago game, the late game, then yeah, I can understand you want to risk, but the Lakers could easily blow them out. Oklahoma City is ravaged. I mean, you got 8 players, and you know, that's not for sure that it's going to play. And the Lakers are the best defensive team. It's a double-digit spread. The fact that Davis isn't playing, yeah, he's great, but they have so many good fill-in guys. So there's, even if you try to outsmart the system, play a few guys in this game, then it may blow out and they don't get the run anyway. It's just no risk reward there. And I'm trying to outthink the sharps in that whole thinking. So take it one step further of no, that, this is one of those where, if it, walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You know what I'm saying? And this is just one of those games that you've got the late potential. One more guy for Oklahoma City is out. The game's over. They're not going to play it because they'd be down to 7. They're at 8 right now. And it could blow out. I don't like the matchup. And so I think it's very simple. You attack this slate like it's a 5-game slate, in my opinion, especially as a cash player. This game's off the board for me. Cleveland Phoenix is off the board. And you've got 5 nice games, specifically Washington, Chicago, and Milwaukee, Denver to stack, where you can come up with some serious optimal lineups. So I really like this card. I think that, if you follow those parameters, you can really come up with some big numbers. And I think it's going to take a big number because you're going to have a lot of DFS points scored. So, ratchet up those 365, 385 numbers for, cash in the big bucks.
Yeah, great point. I mean, it just boils down to the risk reward, and the reward might not be much of a reward, even if you take that risk. So it's a fascinating situation for sure. And one of the reasons we love DFS, and one of the reasons we'll be following the news all day today to get ready for the final lineups like we always do. So again, join us. With football done now, it's going to be all basketball all the time, and that's our specialty. So give us a look. If you want to try out that 3-day membership, go to our website, dfscoachtalk.com, sign up, and then we'll get you into our Discord with an email, and we give out the lineups about 20 to 30 minutes before tip. Of course, we do the full FanDuel cash lineups and a GPP lineup for every slate. And then on DraftKings, the coach's clipboard with highlighted core players and pivots to help you fill out your lineup, and a full Yahoo lineup every slate. We can't forget that, Coach.
Yahoo. Yeah, and I'll tell you, we've got the new deal that we just rolled out with our brothers there at betus.com.pa, who had an extremely busy day yesterday. But if you sign up at BetUS as a new member, make your first deposit of $199. You get to use that $199 to bet on, use the whole thing on BetUS for whatever you want to play. If it's NBA and props, etc. Andrew's been giving out some great props in our Discord. Then you get 3 months free of Coach Talk. So you can't beat that. So you're playing your $199 on BetUS, 3 solid months with us, with all the basketball, baseball starting, and golf that, we cashed again in golf 3 weeks in a row. We are smoking hot in the golf course. So join us there. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is the one big ask, and hopefully you didn't, shut this off already because we've already done the games. But if you're listening, just take a second, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the little alert button up in the right-hand corner so that you can know when our podcast posts. So that is it, my friend. I am good. You want to close this out?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you all for tuning in. Make sure to join us again tomorrow. Actually, Coach will be solo breaking down that slate. I have a previous commitment, so make sure to tune in.
Oh, one last thing, because I got like 6 responses. We didn't do the 2 brains are better than 1 lineup last week. We forgot. And everybody was like, where's the 2 brains lineup? So we can do that Wednesday if you're good with that.
Sounds good. We'll plan on it.
All right, man. We'll do it.
Okay. Excellent. Well, on behalf of the coach and the rest of the DFS Coach Talk team. I am Andrew Hansen. We'll see you next time as we look to crush it in DFS.